Hello, welcome to the Courageous Self-Care podcast. I'm your host, Christina Marlette. On this show, we get into self-care that goes beyond what we normally think of as self-care. So we're not talking here too much about pedicures and going to the spa and getting massages, although those are all magnificently wonderful things to do and a great place to start. What I like to get into and discuss deeply is self-care that takes courage, and that means going to the inside. You can take all the bubble baths you want, but if you have a rocky relationship with a variety of people in your life, unfortunately, as the bubbles go down the drain, they're not going to solve the issues. So this kind of self-care, it takes courage, and that's why we need a guide. So today, I'm here for you. I'm going to give you some great ideas, and I have another guide with me today, Annie Kip. Annie, welcome.
Thank you. It's nice to be here.
I agree. It's very nice to be here, and it's going to be so much fun talking about what we love to talk about.
Yeah, great.
So tell us a little bit about who you are and what you're up to, Annie.
I'm Annie Kip, and my business is Annie Kip Style, and I help people use their spaces as a catalyst for transformation. I really have seen over the years that when people want something different, what they're really looking for is to experience a different feeling. We all have times in our lives when we just want to experience something better or different, and I help people figure out how to use their spaces to accomplish that. We start with getting really crystal clear on the feeling that they are wanting, and then we use their style choices to help them create an environment which will support that.
I think that is so valuable. And before we started recording, we were discussing how everything is energy, and we want to feel that energy, and it's so useful to be able to be in the midst of that energy as well as see it visually, because then that connects us to that feeling that we're seeking. Is that what you're saying?
Absolutely. I think a lot of people don't necessarily connect their environment or their style with the spirituality or personal development, but you can feel it. If someone goes out and just buys a sofa, instead of thinking about how they want to live in that room, it's a totally different energy. So the key for me is getting really clear on how they want to live, how they want to feel when they're interacting with their family, how they want to feel when people come into their home. And then we can make choices. We can look together, and I can help them learn to pay attention to which things spark that feeling for them. It's going to be different for everyone, but sometimes we do need a guide to help us sort of sort through our own feelings about the choices that are out there. There are a lot of them, and they have an effect on us, as you're saying. They are energetic. So if we can bring that feeling up into focus and then make choices that are in alignment with that, we are going to be much happier in our spaces, and we're going to be much more peaceful, aligned, happy. Everything that you're wanting to feel, you can accomplish this way.
Well, as you were speaking, Annie, I was wondering, why do you think that people don't make that connection about how important their space is to their mood and how they're living their lives?
I actually think it is because people are just desperate to feel differently that they jump into a solution before they actually think through what's behind their desire. It's so uncomfortable to be in a feeling or a state that you don't want to be in, that I think we all just reach for solutions, sort of what you're talking about with the quick solutions of self-care that are sort of Band-Aids, I mean, they're great. I take a bubble bath, but it doesn't actually get to the core issue that would actually give you this deeper satisfaction and the deeper knowledge and the deeper feeling that you want to live with every day.
Mm-hmm. I was thinking about an experience I had at my kids' school that illustrates how powerful space is. So my kids go to an arts immersion school, and they've taken the time to make the school visually stunning, not your average school with the institutional colors and boring spaces. And I remember a little kid walking into the school for the first time, and he didn't even walk into the main entrance. He just walked into a hallway where I was waiting to pick my kids up, and he looked around and he said, "Oh, this place is love."
Oh my goodness.
Yeah.
It's out of the mouths of babes. I mean, they are so close to
Yeah.
it. They're so in touch. And
Yeah.
they just say it. I love that. Oh my gosh, how precious. It's true. And we can create that feeling for other people in our homes. You know, you may not want a peaceful home. You may want a stimulating home. Maybe you want more energy flowing through your home. You can actually create that experience for people and for yourself by what you choose to have there. That's a great example.
Oh, that's so exciting. Like I'm covered in goosebumps, which I call truth bumps. So we are in ultimate truth right now.
Yeah. It really is this intersection of personal development and personal style. It's using all the tools that we have available to us to create that authentic experience that is true for us, the true experience, not just a version of it or a picture of it or, you know, the perfect presentation of it. It's definitely a feeling inside that we're going for.
And what a fun way to approach that feeling.
Yeah. I mean, I have the best job. I love helping people with this because it's almost like they tell me what they want. We figure this out together, and they get to be the masters. They get to be the creators of their life and their environment, and I get to help them feel really good. It's a different relationship than most interior decorators. I'm not dictating what people want. I have lots of, you know, rules of thumb and guidance and kind of insight into scale and maybe this, you know, see how this feels versus how this feels. But really it comes down to people have inside them everything that they need to create an environment that really lifts them up, because they're the ultimate experts at that. You know, they know deep inside what it is, and they just might need some guidance getting it out.
This sounds so similar to, if you haven't listened before to the podcast, Courageous Self-Care has 12 foundations, and one of them is full self-expression. And at the root of that is this deep desire, this biological urge and need we have to create. And we don't have to be artists to be creative. We can create experiences. We can create other human beings. We can create amazing spaces. We can create beautiful outfits.
Yes.
And it sounds like that's exactly what you're tapping into. And that's why people are feeling so fulfilled when they work with you and then get to luxuriate in what they've created.
It's true. And there's another layer of it that I think is super important is, and I don't know if this is one of your pillars or foundations, but the need to be seen accurately in the world. Mm-hmm. And when people create a home that aligns with who they truly are inside, it is an expression of who they are. They're not trying to impress anyone, but it allows them to be seen for who they are. And that is just such a calm, solid place to rest and to rest your head at night, knowing that everything around you is an expression of the best of who you are.
Oh, so important and so impactful. I love it.
Yeah.
So we're going to move into the next part. And what I love to do with guests on the show is to get you to share one of your current favorite self-care practices.
You know what? I thought about this, and it really comes down to I need time alone. And it's not just the bubble bath or anything like that. It's really the luxury of owning and honoring what you need for yourself to be then present with other people in the world. And I definitely am one of those people who needs a quiet time alone so that I can recharge and then go back out and be social. And I love being with people, but I definitely need that quiet time to journal and process. And, you know, I don't even play music usually when I'm home alone. And if I do, it has no words in it. I don't want any sort of, you know, distractions from my own thoughts. So I have so much going on in there already. I don't want any outside stimulation. So that's my self-care, is taking that time. And sometimes you have to say no to things in order to get it.
Oh, that is a great point. Absolutely. Because every time you're saying no to someone else's agenda, you're saying a big, hearty yes to you. Yes. And those are the best kind of no's when there is something that we're honoring in ourselves. It can be so hard to build up that ability. And most women are not taught that ability.
Absolutely.
It's definitely a muscle that we need to work on.
Yeah. Yeah, and to create a space in your home that lets you slip into that, thing that you need for yourself really easily is also something that I teach people. Create your little cocoon, give yourself a place where you can go to get what you need without having to kind of arrange it or set it up every single time.
Right. So Annie, what do you have in your space that's your cocoon, that like maybe an object or a feeling that you go there? What's something that you love about your space where you take your alone time?
I have a chair in my living room that's by a window, and it has a table right next to it that's the exact right height for my cup of tea. There's a couple pictures of my family, and I can put my feet up. I have a throw. I have a candle. I have my journal. I have books. It's just sort of a place. It's a really comfortable chair. It's a place that I just can sink in and do my thinking work as I think of it,
That sounds delicious. Thank you for sharing that.
Of course.
So the other thing I love to have our guests do is to share a story of courage. And before you do that, the reason that I love to do this is stories are so important. Stories teach. There's a kind of therapy called narrative therapy. And when we hear other people's stories, this is why talk shows like Oprah have been so popular, is because when we hear other people going through challenges and then how they worked through them, it inspires us to, and it connects us to that energy. And courage is an energy that is contagious, as Brene Brown says.
Mm-hmm.
And lots of people say, oh, I hear this, I couldn't come on your show, I'm not courageous. And I just say, no, that's not true. Everyone has acts of courage that they complete on a regular basis. We're just not acknowledging ourselves for it. So getting you to share your story can inspire someone else. It can give people ideas, and it reinforces for you that you're a courageous person too. So it's multifaceted like a diamond, this experience.
That's a lovely way to think of it, that we are all courageous and we just don't recognize it. That's lovely. Right. Well, I don't have a huge amount of courageous things in my life necessarily, but I do have one that has recently come up that is a small but large thing. Yes. And it has to do with self-care. So I have recently, I have what I call the whispers. Those are those little sparks that sort of remind you of what you know, and they come in and they give you a little hit, and then sometimes they go very quickly. So over the last year, I have noticed that I've had a habit of drinking alcohol, and this little hit has come in saying, you know what, it's not really helping you. And I have recently made the courageous self-care choice to stop drinking alcohol. And it isn't because it was a big problem. It was just that those little whispers were telling me it's not helping me. It's not doing me any favors. I'm not as sharp in the morning. My middle-aged body isn't metabolizing it the way it used to. And I can tell you that it has been freeing. It has been a huge gift I have given to myself. It gives me this feeling of expansiveness and self-control and knowing how I'm going to feel in the morning. So that's my courageous thing. It's not a popular thing. A lot of people drink alcohol. I have no judgment. It's sort of stepping away from the pack and doing something different because I know it is better for me. Mm-hmm. So that is my courageous self-care act that I'm really happy with.
I love that you chose to share that, Annie, and I love that that is your story of courage that you landed on to share with us for a variety of reasons. So first of all, I think it's Wayne Dyer who said that in order to really get full access to our intuition, alcohol doesn't help us do that. And I love that it was the whispers that you were listening to. Yeah. So often making courageous decisions, almost always actually means doing something that other people will have an opinion about. Yes. And when we choose to honor their opinion over our own guidance, that's when we get into difficult places. So I love that you made that decision purely for you based on your intuitive whispers.
Yes. Yes. It does, every time I'm at a party, I just have to kind of remember that not everyone is comfortable with a non-drinker. A lot of people would like you to be drinking with them and have fun, but I am having a great time by myself without my alcohol. So it's different, but it feels so good that I'm sticking with it. So,
So I want to know a little bit more about the whispers. So were you getting those over and over? Did it take a whole bunch of times to listen to it? Yeah. So
yes, like as with many things. So I had gone through periods of time where I heard these little whispers saying, you know what, you don't need that. You don't need that other drink. You don't need to keep doing this. And, I'd listen to it for a while, and then I'd come back to it, and the whispers would come back. And it sounds like I'm hearing voices, and it's not. It's just your intuition, kind of little pokes. And it just finally occurred to me that it's not giving something up. It's going towards something. It's a creative act rather than a deprivation. And that's what changed for me, is it became clear that this was a gift that I was giving myself, not something I was taking away from myself. And I think it just took time for the whispers to kind of make that clear to me, to get that clarity on it. And that is the thing that makes it easy. It doesn't feel like I'm having to struggle and not drink and try hard. It feels really easy because it's a gift.
I love how you framed that. When we have an act of courage, what is going on is there's fear involved, but on the other side of that fear, we can envision something that's better, something that's different, a value that we're moving towards. And so the fact that you were able to frame this as a gift, it seems like that's what allowed you to move through that fear of other people maybe being uncomfortable with you or giving up a habit that was comforting to you.
Yeah. I mean, it tastes great. I mean, it's fun to drink, but I really started seeing it as an act of creation in my life. I was actually committing energy to my projects, my work, developing new things that I'm interested in. And the energy that I could have, been giving to kind of not feeling great the next morning or feeling a little, cloudy on an evening, I'm now having better conversations. I'm waking up with fresh new ideas. So it is, I guess the difference is seeing it as creation. It's a creative act, not a problem solving.
Yeah, that's beautiful. And the other thing that occurred to me is I think a lot of people use alcohol to lower their inhibitions so that they can connect more deeply and be more of who they are. But then at a certain point, it does the exact opposite. And it's the fear that gets in the way. So I love that you shared that you're having even better conversations because there's not kind of that layer in between of the fuzziness or the effect of the alcohol. It's you having the courage to be more authentic.
Yeah, I think it is kind of an illusion that we're giving ourselves that alcohol helps us loosen up and be more ourselves. I think it probably is a mask. It feels kind of nice to be buzzy, but it's not really truly your full self. It's sort of a hazy version of yourself, maybe.
Right. Yeah. I've had periods in my life where I've really enjoyed wine and other periods where I decide I'm not a drinker. So I'm in a non-drinking phase right now.
Yeah. So
and I have a funny story. It's kind of embarrassing. Yesterday, I'll just share it because I don't want to. I'll share it
that's the best kind.
Yeah. So yesterday I was going for an appointment and I was running a little bit behind because I was trying to pack more things in before I left because I like to get stuff done. And so I ended up getting to the building right at the time when the appointment was, and they knew I still had to go upstairs. And I looked at the parking lot, and it was a paid parking lot. And I thought, oh, I don't like paying for the parking. So I pulled into a gas station by a liquor store across the street, and it said private property, only parking if you're a customer. And I'm okay with that usually, but there was a guy smoking outside who was an employee. I'm like, oh, if I don't go into the wine store, he's going to know. He's running away, and maybe I'll get a ticket, and I don't want that. So I went into the wine store. Like, what am I going to do in here? I'm late, and now I'm looking for wine. And my plan was just to go in and go out, but then I was the only person in the store.
Oh my gosh. That's
very
awesome.
silly. So then I saw a bottle of wine on sale. I'm like, well, I guess I'll get that one.
You can always bring it to a party. Yeah.
It's true. Yeah. Or I thought I could cook with it.
Sure. That's hilarious.
So I bought the bottle of wine. I threw it in my car, and I ran to the appointment.
That's hilarious. Well, you paid for parking with wine. You know.
Exactly. Yeah. I thought, well, at least I got something for the money I paid.
Yeah, exactly. Oh, that's hilarious.
It was so silly.
That's
like
awesome.
all the weird thoughts going on in my head while I was making these decisions.
And somehow it all aligned. Like it all.
And of course, because I always remind myself I have perfect timing. I wasn't actually late for the appointment. She was just ready for me when I got there. So it was all good.
Love that.
And now I have wine on my counter.
There you go. You're prepared. That's great. I'm glad you everything worked out and you were on time. That's awesome.
Great. And I didn't get an even bigger ticket and wine.
Perfect.
So Annie, I'm sure people have fallen in love with you and your energy. And if they want to know more, like, do you work virtually with people as well as going?
Sure. Yep. You can find me at anniekipstyle.com. My podcast is stylewithintentionpodcast.com. That's on the website too. And the fastest way to get in touch with me is over on Instagram. Probably just send me a DM if you want to get in touch. But follow me there and let's keep in touch. You and I follow each other. So anybody else can check that out and send me a DM. I'm happy to hear from anyone.
Beautiful. And I was looking at your website, and it looks like you've got a free resource on there. Do you want to share a little bit?
Oh, yeah. That is a great guide. It's a quick start workbook that will help you style your room happy. And it really is sort of a comprehensive guide to doing a home decor project. And it will walk you through the steps that I take clients through. There are 5 steps. First is getting really crystal clear on that feeling that you want. And then I walk you through the kind of logical progression of how to put a room together following that process. So feel free to go download that. It's on my website at Annie Kip Style. There's a big blue button. You can just click it and you'll get the free guide.
Annie, that's so generous of you to share that free resource. So I encourage you listeners to go do that. Even if you're relatively happy in your space, it's always nice to get a professional's opinion to tweak things. And if you're completely unhappy in your space, then definitely go get it.
Yeah, it's a really good way, even if you're not doing a project, just to think about your space and to help you think about what you actually want to feel in your space.
Well, Annie, this has been completely delightful. I'm so glad that we got to connect today in this way. Thank you so much for sharing of yourself with us.
Thank you. This was just a pleasure. Thank you so much for having me.
My pleasure too. And so listeners, I'll leave you with this final thought. No, I'm going to say before that, if you enjoyed the show, give it a like, share it with your friends, leave a comment. We love to hear from you. And now I'm going to leave you with the final thought, which is, I'm just going to let it come to me. Let's see. So courage is not what we would associate with self-care. Usually self-care we just think of as pampering and luxury. And so often we discount it and write it off and say that's not for me. But we can, as Annie has shared in so many different ways today, we can start to enact this energy of courage in how we treat ourselves. because the way we treat ourselves is how we're teaching other people to treat us. So whether it's saying no to someone and yes to yourself, whether it's listening to your intuition and your whispers, whether it is getting really clear on what it is that you want, these are all ways that we can courageously start to treat ourselves the way that we deserve to be treated. Thank you again, Annie, for being here.
Thank you for having me.
And I look forward to connecting with you on the next episode. Bye-bye for now.